Have you heard of this kid named Riker Webb, bro? Bro, I just recently figured out about this story, and it's kind of unsettling, I ain't gonna lie. This kid, right, was playing outside with his dog. Normal day, he was 3 years old. His mom went to check on him, and he was gone. Kid was gone. Just like that, just disappeared. They get search parties, neighbors, everybody, the police, all of them, they all looking for this boy everywhere, right? It even got so bad that they even got the National Guard looking for him. So like they got the whole city looking for this kid, right?
Okay.
2 days later, they found him in the woods. This is the weird part. He was only gone for 2 days. Kid looks like a completely different kid, bro. This don't look like the same kid. It looked like he seen her. I don't know what he went through in them woods, bro. But this kid looked different. It looked like he done been through some shit, bro. Like, look like he done been through a war or something. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna show you the picture, but you'll see it when you watch the video.
I ate a cake, but it was a bomb. My name is Evelyn Johnson, a sweet grandma who loved to bake. One sunny afternoon, as I prepared special treat for my beloved family, I unknowingly stumbled upon a recipe for disaster. With a twinkle in my eye and a mischievous grin, I couldn't resist adding an extra ingredient to the cake, a pinch of excitement. Little did I know that pinch would turn my world upside down. As my family gathered around the table eager to indulge in my latest creation, I presented the cake with pride. The anticipation in the air was palpable. With a swift motion, I cut a generous slice and took a bite. In an instant, a deafening explosion rocked the room. The four sent me flying back, surrounded by smoke and chaos. The cake had been a Trojan horse concealing a deadly bomb. As I lay on the ground dazed and disoriented, the gravity of the situation sank in. Fear coursed through my veins as I realized the danger I had unknowingly put myself and my family in. My family survived, but I looked like Gus from Breaking Bad. Half of my face was gone. Before my body shut down for good, I managed to get my Kalashnikov rifle and shot my entire family.
The world's most famous corn star is a hardcore sexual predator. This is the twisted story of Ron Jeremy, and make sure you didn't eat before watching this TikTok because you're gonna gag. So early on in life, Ron Jeremy was a teacher, and then he tried to act on Broadway and failed. And at one point, his then girlfriend submitted a photo of Jeremy to the adult magazine Playgirl. And from that point on, Jeremy sprang into the adult industry, and that's what he became known for throughout the rest of his life. So Ron Jeremy is currently listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most adult video performances. He has appeared in over 2,000 corn films. And he's also a world-famous celebrity. He's been in a ton of movies, music videos, TV shows. A lot of people know who Ron Jeremy is. The downfall of Ron Jeremy really started in the year 2017, though. In that year, he was banned from a major convention that happened across all of America because apparently he was touching, groping, feeling, inserting himself into people who were attending the convention, asking for pictures and coming to see him at his booth. Obviously, this was a disgusting pattern of behavior that emerged, but it got even worse when in 2020, he was charged with 4 counts of SA in Los Angeles. Apparently, he had SA'd a woman at a home in 2014, he had assaulted 2 other women at a bar in 2017, and then he was accused of assaulting another woman at the same bar in 2019. So initially, just like predators always do, he claimed that he was fully innocent, but as the details behind this case came out, it got so much more disturbing. So 3 days after Ron Jeremy was initially charged, prosecutors came forward and said they had an additional 25 allegations that they would be adding. 6 women from the adult film industry had came forward and said that Ron Jeremy had SA'd them in the past. Then the next month, 30 more allegations were made about his appearances at these conventions and on the sets of films and in houses all over Los Angeles. Then in the next month, August of the same year, the charges got even worse. He was charged with forcible penetration by a foreign object, things like sodomy, and these charges stemmed from 12 different women, ages 15 to 54 years old, who claimed that these things happened from the years 2004 to 2020. And yes, these charges then made Ron Jeremy a pedophile. So eventually on August 25th, 2021, he was indicted on 30 counts of SA with 21 different women testifying against him. Eventually though, after lengthy legal proceedings that lasted years, Ron Jeremy was found mentally incompetent to stand trial. And in February of this year, he was committed to a mental health facility in California. Apparently he's going to be at this facility for up to 2 years, so I don't know what the full outcome of the situation is going to be, but yeah, this is a really just disgusting story, and there are so many victims and probably so many more that will never come forward.
This is a case of 19-year-old Alexi Treviso and how she went to the hospital complaining of back pain, but ended up getting charged with murder. Alexi Treviso was a 19-year-old senior in high school living in Artesia, New Mexico. She was on the varsity cheerleading team, and she was dating her boyfriend Devin for about 2 years. Honestly, Alexi just seemed like a typical teenage girl. Her prom was coming up soon, her graduation was around the corner, and she was already thinking about what university she was going to go to in the fall. January 26, 2023, that day was pretty much just like any other day for 19-year-old Alexi. She went to cheerleading practice that day and got home in the afternoon. She spent some time with her family and then she went to bed. However, she was woken up in the middle of the night with severe back pain. This was like not normal back pain. Like Alexi was in so much pain that her mother decided to take her to the hospital. Alexi and her mother Rosa arrived at the Artesia General Hospital in the early morning hours of January 27th. Alexi checked in and told the doctors that she had really bad pain in her back, so they wanted to do a test to see if maybe she had a UTI or a kidney infection, since back pain can be a symptom of both of those things. So they're getting ready to do those tests, and then they asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" Which is a very common thing to ask. I mean, if you're a girl and you've gone to the doctor before, I feel like they always ask you if you're pregnant. On top of that, experiencing back pain can be a symptom of pregnancy. So the doctor asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" And she says no, that she's still a virgin and that she hasn't engaged in any sexual activity. So the doctor's like, okay, perfect. And they send Alexi over to go get a CAT scan done so that they can check for kidney stones. While she's getting that test done, the doctors decide to still do a pregnancy test just in case, because you never know. So they did a urine test, and when the results came back, they were positive. Alexi was pregnant. Now, of course, pregnancy tests can sometimes be inaccurate, so the doctors wanted to check her blood just to make sure that she was actually pregnant. While all of this is going on, Alexi tells the doctors that she needs to go to the bathroom. Like, she has to go number 2, and it's coming out like right now. So she gets up from the hospital bed and she literally runs to the bathroom holding her butt because she feels like it's going to come out. She locks herself inside the bathroom and she's in there for quite some time. Doctors and the staff at the hospital are getting kind of worried because she's been in there for a while and they know that she's pregnant. So they're thinking maybe she's having some type of miscarriage or something else is happening. They knock on the door, but Alexi refuses to come out. At one point, her mother Rosa also goes over to knock on the door, but Alexi says that she's just having trouble going number 2 and that she'll be out shortly. At this point, Alexi has been in the bathroom for more than like 20 minutes, so the doctors tell her, if you don't open the door right now, we're going to unlock it. Before the doctor can unlock the door, Alexi just opens up and starts walking back to her room. One of the doctors looks inside the bathroom just to see, what happened, and they do see that there was all over the floor. They asked Alexi, what's going on, and she said that she simply got her period. Call over the cleaning lady to come clean up the bathroom, and when she starts to take out the trash, notices that the trash bag feels heavier than usual. So Leela, the housekeeper, goes to look inside the garbage bin, and when she pulls out a bag, she finds a baby. The baby was inside a clear plastic bag at the bottom of the bin. Okay, more in part 2.
My 2 young daughters drowned me in the bathtub. My name is Linda Anderson, and this is my harrowing story. At the time of the incident, I was 44 years old, living in Ontario, Canada, and had 3 children, Sandra, Elizabeth, and Bobby. I want to clarify that these names, including mine, are pseudonyms because Canadian law prohibits revealing our identities since my daughters are teenagers. My 2 daughters are 16 and 15 years old, and my son is 3. The children's father abandoned us, and my second husband, who was abusive, left. I fell into a deep depression and developed an alcohol addiction. In 2002, my 2 daughters started growing angry because they didn't have everything their friends had, like a swimming pool and trendy clothes, which they believed would make them more popular. They blamed me for spending money on alcohol and began searching the internet for ways to kill me while making it look like an accident. They knew that by killing me, they would be entitled to a $133,000 insurance payout. They wanted to use the money for a trip to Europe with their friends and to buy a large house. They shared their plan with their friends, who encouraged them. On January 18, 2003, my daughters gave me alcohol to get me drunk and medication to slow my heart. They then filled the bathtub with water and took me into the bathroom while I was intoxicated. Sandra asked me to lie on my back for a massage, but immediately pushed my head underwater for 4 long and agonizing minutes, causing my death. Sandra and Elizabeth then went to a nearby stream to celebrate their act. At 10:30 p.m., they returned and called for help. The cause of my death was initially determined as accidental drowning due to alcohol intoxication. After my death, my daughters lived in a tent and received the $133,000 insurance payout. My son went to live with another part of the family and received $67,000. 11 months later, Sandra and Elizabeth confided in a male friend who promptly reported them to the police. The police provided him with the necessary equipment to record their confessions over the course of a month. Their computers were also seized, revealing their sinister plan. Sandra and Elizabeth, dubbed the Bathtub Girls, were sentenced in 2006 to 10 years in prison each for first-degree murder, the maximum penalty for teenagers. Sandra was released in 2009 and is now a scientist. Elizabeth was released in 2010, despite her father's unsuccessful attempts to secure her release earlier. She is currently married, has a child, and holds a law degree. The film The Anderson Sisters is based on this terrible story.
This My Little Pony obsessed killer committed the worst mass shooting in the history of Indiana. So this is Brandon Hull, the killer. He was born in the year 2001, and as a kid he was diagnosed with a number of mental health issues. And this story really demonstrates a failing of the system. So throughout his childhood, the police had to be called to his home multiple times because of things he was saying, things he was doing. And in March of 2020, his mom contacted the local police department because Brandon stated he wanted to be killed by a cop and he had just purchased a firearm. So this is where the story gets really wild. So when the police looked through his computer, they found that he had been visiting racist websites, and he was placed on an immediate mental health hold by the police after being arrested. But he was released out into the free world after only 2 hours. So the weapon that he had purchased in the past was never returned to him, and at that point the authorities closed the case. Under a red flag law, Brandon would have been prevented from purchasing another firearm if the judges and the authorities had held a hearing within 14 days of him being arrested. But they never held this hearing because they thought that they had done their job by taking away his one weapon. And so, just a short while later, he purchased 2 more weapons, this time AR-15s. So obviously, a guy like Brandon, who had had the cops called on him multiple times, he had threatened to hurt people and wanted to die at a cop's hand, he should never be owning a weapon, but because of the system, he was allowed to purchase 2 of them. So on April 15th, 2021, Brandon drove to the FedEx facility that he was previously employed at and opened fire. The shooting lasted for 4 minutes and he ended up taking the lives of 8 individuals. And since Brandon headed to the facility during a shift change that he knew was going to happen, he was able to access people freely. And his victims ranged from the ages of 19 to 74 years old. When police raided Brandon Hull's home after all this went down, they discovered that he was an avid brony or a mega fan of the show My Little Pony. His room was absolutely covered in My Little Pony decorations, and they even found strange things like a headless doll hanging from his closet. After further inspection, it was found that he even had My Little Pony artwork on the weapons he had brought to commit this crime with. And afterwards, it was discovered that right before the massacre, Brandon made a disturbing Facebook post. If you don't know, Applejack is a character in the My Little Pony show, and I'm going to read this to you. This is what he wrote on his Facebook. I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her. If there's no afterlife and she isn't real, then my life never mattered anyway. So yeah, this is just another disturbing twist in an already really disturbing story, and I couldn't believe the details of this case when I read about it.
This is the story of the Philpott family murders. On the 11th of May 2012, parents 56-year-old Mick Philpott and 31-year-old mother Mairead Philpott set fire to their home, accidentally killing 6 of their beautiful children. 5 of the children died at the scene, whilst the oldest child died 3 days later in hospital. Mick and Mairead set fire to their own family home as part of a vicious scheme to frame Mick's former partner and regain custody of his child. Mick reportedly had 17 children with 5 different women, and several of his partners described him as abusive. Mairead was a 19-year-old single mother who had left a volatile relationship when she met Mick in 2000. By 2003, Mick and Mairead were married, with Mick's mistress Lisa, with whom he had 3 children, acted as a bridesmaid. During the police investigation into the fire, petrol was found inside the letterbox of the house and a murder investigation was launched. Police bugged the Philpotts hotel room and found evidence that they were responsible for starting the fire, as was their friend, 46-year-old Paul Mosley. Further investigations found that the Philpotts' clothes also had petrol on them. Initially, Mick's ex was arrested on suspicion of murder along with her brother-in-law Ian Cousins, but both were released without any charge. Meanwhile, witnesses reported to the police that Philpott behaved strangely for someone who had recently lost several of his children and appeared to like the media attention. The police bugged the Philpotts hotel room and gained evidence confirming the couple were responsible for the fire, including the involvement of friend Paul Mosley, with whom Mairead was heard engaging in a sex act. Mick and Mairead were arrested on suspicion of murder on the 28th of May 2012. After seeking additional time for questioning, the couple were charged with murder on the 30th of May 2012. A discarded petrol container and glove had been found near the house, and in November forensic investigators discovered that the clothes of the Philpotts and Mosley had petrol on them. On the 5th of November, Mosley was arrested and charged with murder. This charge was later downgraded to manslaughter. During this tragedy, many of the local residents from their area chipped in together to raise funds for the children's funerals. Mick even stooped as low as trying to gain access to the children's funeral money so that he could spend it on himself. He also suggested taking all the teddy bears and gifts left outside the house in remembrance of the children to take them on and sell them and keep the money for themselves. On the 12th of April 2013, Mick Philpott was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum tariff of 15 years. Mairead and Paul received 17 years, on which they would have to serve half before any release on licence. On November 29, 2013, an appeal by Mairead against the length of her sentence was heard. The grounds of the appeal were mainly that Mairead was under the control of her husband and could not exercise a free choice in her conduct. The appeal was dismissed. Mairead was released on licence in 2020 after serving half of her sentence. Paul Mosley was released from prison in May 2021 after serving half of his 17-year sentence. As of right now, Mick Philpott is still in prison.
When no one answers the door, officers kick it down and are immediately overwhelmed by the stench of death. It's the decomposing body of a naked man, and next to him is a tripod with a camera on it. And inside the camera is a tape, and scribbled on the side are the 3 words, "The Last Day." A deputy then sticks it inside a video player and presses play.
My name is Ricardo Lopez. Yesterday I purchased this camera. Do you want to see something funny? I'm gonna show you who I am. I am a monster.
This vlog is just one of 11 videotapes, along with a series of handwritten journals, that document Ricardo's descent into insanity. And soon enough, authorities will be racing against the clock to prevent his evil plan from claiming the life of a famous singer. This is how Ricardo Lopez became the Bjork Stalker. Ricardo was born on January 14th, 1975, into a middle-class family living in Uruguay. He's the youngest of 3 boys, and the family moves to the US and settles down in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And growing up, he's a pretty easygoing kid, but he's kind of shy and introverted, so it's tough for him to make friends at school. His inferiority complex leads him to dropping out of high school when he's just 17 and moving to South Florida to work with his older brother in the pest control business. And when he's not working, trying to make ends meet, he's home alone in his Hollywood apartment. And there he finds that the only way he can escape his bleak, boring life is through celebrity magazines. In 1993, after seeing a music video of an emerging artist named Bjork, he's in awe by the girl's childlike appearance and innocence and instantly becomes obsessed. But instead of art, Ricardo channels his creative energy into a diary about Bjork, which eventually becomes over 800 pages long. It's January 14th, 1996, and Ricardo's reading an article in Entertainment Weekly about the singer's new boyfriend. He's also a musician and fellow entertainer who goes by the nickname Goldie. This relationship, along with the fact that the guy is African American, turns Ricardo's deep affection for Bjork into an intense hatred.
Look at this beautiful face. She's fucking That's unacceptable.
See, in Ricardo's head, he thinks that Bjork is betraying him and wants to teach her a lesson. He starts conjuring up different methods of revenge and makes a plan so he can attack her from a distance and not be the one held responsible. He then has an idea for a sort of book bomb that when she opens it up, the contents will explode on her face, disfiguring or better yet, killing her. He then documents every diabolical step, turning this nightmare of a plan into reality. But he doesn't plan on just killing Bjork. See, a crucial part to all of this is Ricardo taking his own life. On September 12th, 1996, Ricardo is sitting in front of his video camera in his Hollywood apartment. He explains that he has just mailed a package to Bjork at her home in London. Ricardo then arms himself with a weapon and sits as the song I Remember You by Bjork plays in the background. Then, as it gets toward the last part of the song, Ricardo makes one last declaration.
This death is for you, Bjork.
At 2:53 p.m., I Remember You comes to an end, and Ricardo puts a 38 in his mouth, takes one last deep breath, and pulls the trigger. It's 4 days later, on September 16th, 1996, when investigators from the Broward County Sheriff's Department stumble into a crime scene unlike any other. Officers then become alarmed as the contents reveal an explosive device had been created in this very apartment. Though after several hours, they learn the device had been mailed out 4 days earlier to Bjork in London, the last day Ricardo had been seen alive. They immediately contact the Metropolitan Police in the United Kingdom, and amazingly, the package is located and removed from a post office in South London. Reporters all over the globe swarm the artist as she's trying to leave her house.
Well, it's just kind of a very sad thing, obviously when somebody shoots their face off, it's terrible.
You know, guys, in a sick way, he kind of got what he wanted. She knows his name. He hadn't been able to cope with his intense feelings of not being good enough, and an obsession led him down a destructive, fatal path. With social media, influencers and celebrities are more accessible to their fans than ever before. They post their home life, vacation, friends, family members, all of which puts their safety at risk. Rapper PNB Rock was recently shot a few miles away from me after posting on Instagram and tagging the restaurant he was at. Kim Kardashian was bound and gagged after posting on Instagram in Paris. Seriously, guys, be careful where you post in real time. I know I do, because if I die, who's gonna make the video about it?
Imagine a night so dark and so eerie that even the bravest souls dare not to venture outside. Now add a creature so terrifying that it could stop your heart. Welcome to the haunting tale of the Lawton werewolf, a nightmarish entity that plunged an entire Oklahoma town into a state of unparalleled fear and dread. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on another spine-tingling story. Today we're diving into an account that's not just another campfire tale. It's a real-life horror story that gripped the community of Lawton, Oklahoma back in 1971. This isn't just folklore. This is a narrative that had people locking their doors, avoiding the streets after dark, and questioning the very fabric of reality. Let's rewind to the evening of February 27th, 1971. Donald Childs, a 35-year-old man, was enjoying what he thought would be a typical night at home. But as fate would have it, his life was about to take a dark and twisted turn. Imagine looking out your window and seeing a humanoid creature covered in fur crouched by your fish pond, attempting to quench its thirst. The sight was so terrifying that Donald suffered a heart attack right then and there. He survived, but the terror was far from over. After recovering, Donald was questioned by the local police. He described the creature as towering humanoid with a face shrouded in hair and wearing an indescribable assortment of clothing. This was just the tip of the iceberg. Lawton Police Department was soon inundated with calls from terrified residents. People reported seeing something monstrous darting down the streets, dodging cars and sowing chaos wherever it went. Officer Harry Ezel recounted how the creature would momentarily hide behind bushes before resuming its frenzied run. But the horror didn't stop there. An unnamed man living in an apartment complex had an encounter that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He saw the creature perched on a railing outside his second-floor apartment. When the creature turned its head to look at him, its face was horribly distorted as if it had survived a terrifying fire. It wore pants so small that it could barely cover its knees. Realizing this was no prank, the man watched in horror as the creature leapt down 17 feet, landing effortlessly, and took off running on all fours. The creature eventually made its way to Fort Sill, a military installment. There it struck fear into the hearts of a group of soldiers. These men, trained to face life-threatening situations, admitted they were genuinely frightened by this creature. Despite the police being on high alert, the werewolf vanished as suddenly as it appeared, leaving the town in a state of uneasy anticipation. The creature's sudden disappearance led to ferocious theories. Some speculated that it was a cryptid, a creature not yet identified by science. Others thought it might be a skinwalker, a being from Native American folklore capable of transforming into animals. Interestingly, a similar creature known as the Falk Monster was sighted in Arkansas around the same time, leading some to wonder if these incidents were connected. The Lawton werewolf didn't just leave physical footprints, it left psychological scars on the community. Parents were afraid to let their children play outside, nighttime activities came to a standstill, and the atmosphere was thick with tension, fear, and an unspoken question of, what if it comes back? Local authorities were baffled. Despite increased patrol and numerous eyewitness accounts, the creature was never captured or identified. Major Clarence Hill, a commander of the local police patrol division, even sent out an alert to his officers to watch for the werewolf. The media had a field day, but despite the extensive coverage, the creature seemed to have vanished into thin air. Years have passed, but the story of the Lawton werewolf remains a hot topic, especially among cryptozoologists and paranormal investigators. Some claim that the panic was a result of mass hysteria, while others firmly believe that something supernatural was at play. The creature may have disappeared, but its legend lives on, a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers that could be lurking in the dark corners of our world. The Lawton werewolf was last seen on a Saturday night, and by Sunday, its reign of terror had come to an abrupt end. Despite the police being on high alert, the creature never reappeared. It's as if it just vanished back into the dark dimension from which it emerged, leaving the residents of Lawton to ponder what really happened during those terrifying days. If this story sent shivers down your spine and you're hungry for more, smash the like button and share this video far and wide. Let's keep the legend of the Lawton werewolf alive and kicking. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on another creepy tale.